I was standing in front of the orchids when a stranger pressed a folded note into my palm. Then his voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Don't react. Unfold the note slowly. The man by the gift shop entrance has been following you for the past 20 minutes. My heart kicked up, but I didn't move. Before we dive into this story, I would like you to drop a comment and tell me where in the world you're watching from, your city, your country, wherever you are in the world. And please hit that like button for me and subscribe to my channel. We're building a community of people who refuse to be silenced, who know that dignity has no expiration date. Now, back to my story. I unfolded the note with steady fingers. Stay calm. Follow my lead. You're being watched. The handwriting was precise, controlled. The kind of penmanship that belongs to someone who thinks before they act. I should have been terrified. A stranger approaching me with cryptic warnings should have sent me running for security. But something in his tone, something in the deliberate calm of his approach, made me listen instead. "Who are you?" I kept my voice low, still staring at the orchids. "My name is James Park. I'm a private investigator." He shifted slightly, angling his body like he was pointing at a different display. "Your stepdaughter hired me 2 weeks ago. She's 17, works part-time at that bookstore near the community college. Saved up $300 to pay my retainer because she was worried about you, Lily." My chest tightened. Michael's daughter. Well, stepdaughter, technically, though I'd never used that word. She'd been 14 when her father died, and we'd been navigating grief together ever since. She lived primarily with her mother, but came to stay with me most weekends. We'd grown close, closer than I'd ever expected. "What does Lily think is wrong?" I asked. "The man watching you?" James paused. "That's your brother, isn't it? Devin Wallace. He told you he'd be in Los Angeles today, business meetings, but here he is, 40 minutes south in Encinitas, watching you from behind a gift shop display like you're a suspect under surveillance." The bottom dropped out of my stomach. Devin. I turned my head slowly, casually, like I was scanning the conservatory to appreciate the full space. That's when I saw him, my younger brother, partially hidden behind a rotating rack of botanical postcards, phone pressed to his ear, eyes locked directly on me. He was supposed to be in LA. He told me that this morning over breakfast. Rachel, his wife, had poured my coffee and kissed his cheek as he left. I'd heard the garage door close, heard his car pull away, but here he was, watching me. Why would my brother follow me? The question came out harder than I intended. James touched my elbow lightly, not a grip, a guide. "Because he's building a case against you, Miss Chen, and we need to talk somewhere private. Right now." We moved through the gardens like two people transitioning between exhibits. Natural, unhurried. James led me away from the conservatory, past the meditation garden, toward a service entrance near the native plant section. A staff member glanced up as we approached, but James showed some kind of credential I didn't catch, offered a pleasant nod. And we slipped through. The corridor behind was concrete and fluorescent lighting, industrial. The beauty of the garden stripped away to reveal the infrastructure underneath. James walked quickly now, leading me to a maintenance room that smelled like fertilizer and potting soil. He closed the door and turned to face me, pulling a thin folder from his messenger bag. 2 weeks ago, your stepdaughter Lily came to my office, Handy, he began. She said something felt wrong. She couldn't explain it exactly, but she noticed your sister-in-law taking pictures of you when you weren't looking, recording you on her phone during conversations. She saw your brother researching things online about mental competency and trustee removal. "Trustee removal?" I repeated. James opened the folder. Inside were photographs, time-stamped, clear. The first showed Devin and Rachel entering a modern office building downtown. The angle suggested surveillance from a parked car across the street. "They've visited this attorney 4 times in the past 6 weeks, James said, voice steady and factual. Her name is Patricia Morrison. She specializes in elder law, specifically competency declarations and guardianship proceedings." The words landed with surgical precision. Competency, guardianship. Legal terms I'd heard before but never aimed at me. They're building a case to have you declared mentally incompetent, James continued, laying out more photographs. Once that's done, they can petition to have you removed as trustee of your late husband's life insurance payout. $2.3 million currently held in trust for Lily until she turns 25. You control that money as trustee. They want that control transferred to them. I stared at the photographs. Devin and Rachel outside a medical office. Rachel filming me through the kitchen window. Devin at a coffee shop, reviewing documents with someone I didn't recognize. How long have you been watching them? My voice sounded distant, clinical, the tone I used to use when interviewing fraud suspects. 11 days. Lily hired me October 28th. I've documented 19 separate instances of what appears to be evidence fabrication. He pulled out more photos. Your sister-in-law has been staging incidents, moving your car keys, then finding them in strange places, rearranging your medications in the bathroom, taking videos where you look confused. But editing out the context that would show your confusion was justified. My mind started cataloging memories with new context. Last week, Rachel asking where I'd put my reading glasses, finding them in the refrigerator 20 minutes later, her concerned expression. Mom, are you feeling okay? You left these in such a strange place. Except I hadn't put them there. I'd left them on the coffee table. I was certain. 3 days ago. Devin asking repeatedly if I'd remembered an appointment with my financial advisor. I'd insisted I had no such appointment. He'd showed me a calendar entry on his phone, claimed I'd asked him to add it, made me doubt myself. They're gaslighting me, I said flatly. Yes, and they're documenting every moment you look confused or forgetful, building a narrative. James pulled out another document. They've also contacted Dr. Gerald Richardson, psychiatrist. Your brother plays poker with him twice a month. Dr. Richardson owes your brother approximately $8,000. They've been discussing a competency evaluation. The pieces assembled themselves with terrible clarity. My brother and his wife, systematically manipulating me, creating false evidence, recruiting a corrupt doctor, all to gain control of money that didn't belong to them, money Michael had left for his daughter. How much do they owe? I asked. The forensic accountant in me always followed the money first. James didn't hesitate. Your brother lost $340,000 in cryptocurrency investments between 2021 and 2023. He's currently 60 days behind on a private loan for $180,000. The lender is not a bank. The interest rate is criminal. Your sister-in-law has $82,000 in credit card debt, luxury purchases primarily, designer clothes, spa treatments, jewelry. $422,000 in debt, $2.3 million in trust money I controlled. The math was simple and brutal. I wasn't family to them. I was an obstacle between them and financial salvation. Lily figured it out before you did, James said quietly. Smart kid. She said you'd know what to do once you had the evidence. I looked up at him. How old are you, Mr. Park? 36. You're good at your job, thorough. I was a forensic analyst before I went private. Financial Crimes Unit, SDPD. I know how to follow money and document fraud. He paused. I also know when someone's about to get destroyed by people they trust. Lily didn't want you to find out too late. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in 2 years. Sandra Kim, former colleague from my FBI days. She'd retired the same year I did, but still consulted on elder abuse cases. Still knew every attorney worth hiring in Southern California. My thumb hovered over her name. I need to call someone tonight, I said. An attorney. Then I need to go home and pretend I know nothing. James nodded, understanding immediately. I'll continue surveillance. They don't know I exist. That's our advantage. He handed me a flash drive. Everything's here. Video surveillance, audio recordings, financial records on your brother's debts, Dr. Richardson's connection to him. Your attorney will need all of it. I pocketed the drive, feeling its weight like a weapon. Keep watching them, I said. I want to know every move they make, every meeting, every phone call, every lie. Already planned. James moved toward the door, then paused. Ms. Chen, I've seen cases like this before. The moment the victim realizes what's happening, they become something else. They stop being prey. I was a forensic accountant for 30 years, I said quietly. I investigated fraud for the FBI. I've sent people to federal prison for doing exactly what my brother's doing. I met his eyes. He chose the wrong target. James almost smiled. Yes, he did. We left through different exits. I took the main path back to the parking lot, walking normally. An older woman leaving the gardens after an afternoon of peaceful solitude. My car was where I'd left it in the visitor lot. I placed James's folder under the passenger seat, hidden but accessible. The drive home took 18 minutes. I used every second to think, to plan, to let the professional training I'd spent a lifetime developing take control. They wanted to use the law against me. Fine. I'd written testimony that held up in federal court. I'd traced money through offshore accounts and shell corporations. I knew every procedure, every loophole, every tactical advantage in financial fraud cases. And what they were doing was textbook fraud. I pulled into the driveway as evening settled over the neighborhood. Lights glowed warm in the kitchen windows. Through the glass, I could see Rachel moving around, preparing dinner. Devin sat at the counter, scrolling through his phone. My home, my family, my betrayers. I checked my watch. Sandra would be finishing her consulting work about now. I'd call her after dinner. After I'd played my part convincingly enough, I gripped the steering wheel, took a controlled breath, and rehearsed the expression I'd wear. Content, tired, unsuspecting. The mask of a woman who had no idea her own brother was trying to destroy her. Then I opened the car door and stepped out into the cooling air. The front door opened before I could reach it. Mom! Rachel stood in the doorway, smile wide and warm and absolutely false. She'd started calling me Mom 6 months ago. Her suggestion, "Makes us feel more like a real family," she'd said. Now I understood. The closer she could make me feel to her, the more I'd trust her. The easier I'd be to manipulate. "How was the garden?" she asked, stepping aside to let me in. "Beautiful," I said, keeping my voice light. "The orchids are blooming. You know how much I love that exhibit." "Of course I do." She touched my arm affectionately. "I'm making your favorite tonight, lemon chicken." Devin looked up from his phone. "How was LA?" I asked casually, setting my purse on the entry table. He didn't even blink. "Productive. Long day of meetings. Just got back an hour ago." The lie rolled off his tongue, smooth as glass. "I'm glad you're home safe," I said, meaning, I'm glad. I know exactly what kind of liar you are. Dinner was excruciating. Rachel asked about my day, and I described flowers I'd barely registered. Devin mentioned his fabricated LA meetings, and I nodded as though I believed him. They exchanged glances across the table, small conspiratorial looks they thought I didn't notice. But I noticed everything now. The way Rachel watched me when I reached for my water glass, like she was waiting for me to knock it over so she could document my clumsiness. The way Devin asked if I'd taken my evening medication yet, already controlling the narrative around my prescriptions. The way both of them spoke slightly louder than necessary, like I was hard of hearing, like I was declining. Every gesture, every word, every staged moment of false concern. I catalogued them all in my mind with time-stamp precision. After dinner, I excused myself to my bedroom, locked the door, pulled out my phone and called Sandra. She answered on the second ring. "Margaret Chen, it's been too long. Sandra, I need legal counsel. Immediately." I kept my voice low, aware of the thin walls. "My brother and his wife are building a case to have me declared incompetent so they can access my stepdaughter's trust fund. I have evidence." Silence stretched for 3 seconds. Then Sandra's voice came back, stripped of warmth, pure professional focus. "Margaret, listen carefully. Don't sign anything. Don't discuss your finances with anyone in your household. How solid is your evidence? Surveillance footage, audio recordings, financial motive documented, corrupt psychiatrist ready to testify." I paused. "It's airtight, Sandra. I just need someone who can use it. Robert Fuentes, best trust attorney in San Diego. I'll call him tonight. Have him reach out tomorrow. Can you act normal until then?" I thought of 30 years keeping my expression neutral while witnesses lied under oath, maintaining composure while examining evidence of unthinkable crimes. I can do that. Good. 8 a.m. tomorrow. His office. I'll text you the address. Sandra paused. Margaret, I'm sorry this is happening to you. Don't be sorry yet, I said quietly. Be sorry for them when this is over. I hung up and sat in the darkness of my bedroom, Michael's watch still on my wrist. I touched the familiar metal, remembering the man who'd worn it, the man who'd left his daughter protected by a trust fund and me as the guardian of that protection. Devin and Rachel thought I was an easy target, a grieving widow, isolated, vulnerable, trusting. They forgot I'd spent 3 decades hunting people exactly like them. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But tonight, I sat in the dark and let them think they were winning. That was the first rule of any investigation. Let your targets believe they're in control, right up until the moment you show them they never were. Morning came after a sleepless night spent cataloging evidence in my mind. Every conversation, every strange incident, every lie now had context, and that context painted a picture so clear it could have been evidence exhibit A. I left the house at 7:30, telling Rachel I had errands downtown. She smiled, kissed my cheek, then did something that made my blood run cold. Mom, do you remember where you parked the car yesterday? You seemed a little confused when you came home. I hadn't been confused, not even slightly, but she said it loud enough for Devin to hear from the kitchen, planting seeds, building their narrative. I remember perfectly, Rachel. I kept my voice even, pleasant. I parked in the driveway, same as always. Something flickered in her expression, too quick to interpret. Of course you did. I just worry about you, that's all. I know you do, I said, meaning something entirely different. Robert Fuentes' office occupied the 10th floor of a glass tower overlooking San Diego Bay. I'd been to plenty of attorneys' offices in my FBI career, but never as the client, never as the victim. The receptionist recognized my name immediately. Miss Chen, Mr. Fuentes is expecting you. Sandra spoke very highly of you. Robert Fuentes was younger than I expected, maybe 50, with silver at his temples and the bearing of someone who'd spent decades in courtrooms. He stood when I entered, gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. Margaret, Sandra tells me you're dealing with a family situation, trust dispute. I laid James's folder on his desk. My brother and his wife are attempting to have me declared mentally incompetent so they can remove me as trustee of my late husband's life insurance. $2.3 million held in trust for my 17-year-old stepdaughter until she turns 25. Robert opened the folder. His expression remained neutral as he studied each photograph, but I saw his jaw tighten. When I handed him the flash drive, he plugged it into his laptop immediately. The surveillance footage played in silence. Devin and Rachel staging disorder in my home office, audio of them discussing their timeline. Rachel coaching Dr. Richardson on what testimony to provide. When it finished, Robert sat back in his chair. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, potentially criminal. His voice was controlled but hard. How did you obtain this evidence? My stepdaughter hired a private investigator, former forensic analyst, SDPD. Everything was obtained legally. Good. He pulled out a legal pad, started making notes. Here's what we need to do immediately. First, comprehensive medical evaluations from 3 independent physicians, neurologist, psychiatrist, general practitioner. We document your competency beyond any shadow of doubt. Second, I asked, we protect your assets, transfer the house to a living trust with you and Lily as co-trustees. They can't claim property they don't control. We also need to look at your bank accounts. Any joint access? No. Everything's in my name only. But Devin has been staying in my house for 18 months. Does that give him any claim? Robert shook his head. Not if we document he's been living rent-free as a guest. In fact, we can use that. California law allows us to claim back rent from adult family members who occupied your property without compensation. I felt something cold settle in my chest. The forensic accountant part of my brain started calculating. 18 months. Fair market rent in Encinitas for a house my size would be approximately $3,000 per month, $54,000. How fast can we move? I asked. How fast do you think they'll file? Soon. They're desperate. Devon owes money to dangerous people. Robert closed the folder. Then we move faster. I'll have the medical evaluation scheduled by this afternoon. Meanwhile, we need to discuss something else. He leaned forward. Have you noticed any medication discrepancies? Pills missing? Prescriptions running out faster than they should? I froze. I have anxiety medication. Low dose. I've been running out faster lately. I thought I was just taking it more because of stress. What kind? Lorazepam, 0.5 milligrams. Robert's expression darkened. If someone's been taking your medication to make you appear unstable, or worse, giving you extra doses to actually make you unstable, that's poisoning. That's a felony. The room tilted slightly. Rachel handled my medications. She'd been so helpful, organizing them in a weekly pill container, reminding me to take them, being the perfect caring daughter-in-law. I want to count what's left, I said. Compare it to the prescription dates. Do it tonight. Photograph everything. If there's a discrepancy, we'll need that evidence. I spent the next 3 days rotating through medical offices. Tuesday morning, Dr. Patricia Alvarez, neurologist. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes and precise movements. She led me through cognitive assessment tests for 2 hours, pattern recognition, memory exercises, problem-solving tasks, verbal fluency, spatial awareness. Miss Chen, your cognitive function is exceptional, she said afterward, reviewing her notes. Your memory is sharp, your reasoning is clear, and your processing speed is well above average for your age group. I see absolutely no signs of cognitive impairment whatsoever. She looked up at me. Frankly, your scores are better than most 40-year-olds I evaluate. How soon can you have the written evaluation completed? I asked. I'll have it ready by tomorrow afternoon. Wednesday brought the psychiatrist. Dr. Marcus Liu spent 3 hours with me, asking questions about my mental state, my daily functioning, my emotional regulation. He had me complete standardized depression and anxiety screenings, assessed my judgment and insight. Miss Chen, I want to be very clear, he said at the end. You are not experiencing any psychiatric condition that would impair your ability to manage your affairs. Your anxiety is well controlled and appropriate, given your recent loss. Your judgment is sound. Your insight is excellent. If someone is claiming otherwise, they're either grossly incompetent or deliberately lying. Thursday, the general practitioner, Dr. Sarah Martinez, reviewed my complete medical history, performed a physical exam, assessed my overall health. You're in excellent health, she concluded. Blood pressure normal, cholesterol excellent. No signs of any medical condition that would affect your mental capacity. You're one of the healthiest 58-year-olds I've seen this year. 3 doctors, 3 unimpeachable evaluations, 3 pieces of armor. Between appointments, I returned home to maintain the facade. But now, with new awareness, I started to see the full scope of their manipulation. Wednesday evening, I watched Rachel move my reading glasses from the side table to the kitchen counter while I was in the bathroom. 20 minutes later, she found them with exaggerated concern. Mom, you left these in the strangest place. Do you remember putting them on the counter? I must have been distracted, I said, though I'd watched the whole thing. Thursday morning, Devon mentioned an appointment I'd never made. Weren't you supposed to meet with your financial advisor today? You seemed concerned about it yesterday. I have no such appointment scheduled, I said carefully. Must have misunderstood. But he exchanged a meaningful look with Rachel, another moment documented in their mental catalog of my supposed decline. That evening I waited until they went to bed. Then I went to my bathroom and carefully counted my remaining anxiety medication, cross-referenced it with my prescription refill date. I should have had 42 pills left. I had 19, 23 pills unaccounted for in 2 weeks. I photographed the bottle, the pill count, the prescription label, sent it all to Robert. His response came within minutes. This is poisoning. Criminal. Save the pills. Don't take any more. Get a new prescription from a different pharmacy. Don't tell them. I locked the remaining pills in my bedroom safe and couldn't sleep the rest of the night. Friday afternoon, James called. I took it from my car parked at a grocery store lot. Margaret, they've accelerated their timeline, he said, voice urgent. Devon met with Patricia Morrison yesterday. They're filing the competency petition Monday morning, 4 days from now. 4 days. What changed? I asked. Money pressure. I've been tracking Devon's loan shark. They sent someone to your house Tuesday night. 2 men in a black SUV. Sat outside for 20 minutes. Devon came out, talked to them through the car window, looked terrified. How much time does he have before... I couldn't finish the question. My sources say he's got maybe 2 weeks before they start getting physical. He's desperate, Margaret. Desperate people make mistakes, but they also get dangerous. I sat in my car, watching shoppers come and go, living their normal lives. What else have you found? Rachel's been researching memory care facilities, high-end places in North County. She's been taking virtual tours, requesting pricing information. She's planning where to put you once they get control. The coldness in my chest spread. They hadn't just planned to take my money. They'd planned where to warehouse me. Also, James continued, I pulled audio from your home security cameras. You gave me permission to access them remotely, remember? What did you find? Recording from Tuesday night after you went to bed. Devon and Rachel in the kitchen. I'm sending you the file now, but Margaret, it's going to be hard to hear. My phone buzzed with the incoming file. I put it on speaker. Devon's voice came through, slightly drunk. Once we get her declared incompetent, we petition for emergency guardianship. Morrison says Judge Patterson moves fast on these. We could have control within 3 weeks. Rachel's response. What about Lily? What about her? She's 17, minor. We'll be managing the trust for her benefit. Extract what we need for our debts. No one can prove we misused funds for years. By the time Lily figures it out, the money's gone. And Margaret? Devon's laugh was harsh, bitter. Sunrise Memory Care. Costs $6,800 a month. We pay it directly from her accounts. She lives there until the money runs out, or she doesn't. Either way, problem solved. Silence on the recording. Then Rachel. Quieter. I almost feel bad. Don't. She's got millions just sitting there while we're drowning. She's had her life. We deserve ours. The recording ended. I sat in that grocery store parking lot, hands shaking for the first time since this began. Not from fear, from rage. They'd planned it all. Steal from Lily. Warehouse me. Destroy everything Michael had built to protect his daughter. My phone rang. Robert Fuentes. Margaret, I just heard from James about their Monday filing. We need to meet, tonight, and we need to bring Lily. Lily arrived at Robert's office at 7 p.m. She told her mother she was studying at my house for the weekend. Not technically a lie, we'd explain everything later. She looked terrified. I pulled her into a hug, something I hadn't done in months. You did the right thing hiring James, I whispered. You saved us both. Robert laid out our counter-strategy like a military operation. They're filing Monday, he said. We're filing Sunday, tomorrow. Emergency motion for restraining order based on elder abuse. Simultaneously, we file formal complaints against Dr. Richardson with the medical board. We also file a civil claim for the medication theft, the fraud, the emotional abuse. We hit them with everything at once before they know what's happening. He slid documents across his desk. Margaret, this transfers your house into a living trust with you and Lily as co-trustees. They can't touch it. This opens a separate bank account. At a different bank. Monday morning, before their filing, we transfer everything from your current accounts to the new one. They'll have no access. What about my brother's debts? I asked. The people he owes money to? Not your problem. He made those choices. You're not responsible for his financial disaster. Lily spoke up for the first time. What happens to them? To Devon and Rachel? Robert's expression was grave. If we prove what they've done, They'll face criminal charges, elder abuse, fraud, potentially conspiracy. They could go to prison. At minimum, they'll be financially destroyed by legal fees and judgments. Lily looked at me. Is that what you want? I thought about Michael, about the life insurance money he'd left specifically to protect his daughter, about how Devin and Rachel had planned to steal it, to warehouse me, to pretend it was all for my own good. I want justice, I said quietly, and I want you safe. Everything else is just details. Saturday morning, we executed Phase 1. Robert met me at Pacific Coast Trust, a bank I'd never used before. The manager, a composed woman named Ms. Patterson, led us to a private office. Miss Chen, I'm opening a new account solely in your name, she explained. We'll transfer all funds from your existing accounts at Coastal Bank. The transfers will complete by Monday morning before those banks open. Total amount transferring, $372,000. I signed the authorizations with steady hands. Every signature moved money beyond Devin and Rachel's reach. Sunday morning brought the property transfer. Robert, Lily, and I met with a notary at Robert's office. The notary reviewed our identification and the trust documents. Ms. Chen, you're transferring your property into a living trust with yourself and Lily Grant as co-trustees. You understand this means decisions about the property require both signatures? Completely understood. That's exactly what I want. We signed in blue ink. The notary stamped each page with her official seal. The house Devin and Rachel had been planning to control, planning to sell to pay their debts, now belonged to a trust they couldn't touch. Sunday afternoon, Robert filed everything electronically. Emergency restraining order, elder abuse claims, medical board complaints against Dr. Richardson, civil claims for emotional distress, fraud, medication theft. It's done, he said, hitting the final submit button. The court will process these overnight. By Monday morning, Devin and Rachel will receive notice that emergency hearings have been scheduled. They'll walk into court expecting to file against you, and instead find out you've already filed against them. I felt no satisfaction, no victory, just cold, calculated certainty that I'd done what was necessary. Sunday evening, I sat in my study at home. Devin and Rachel had gone out to dinner, probably celebrating what they thought would be their last free weekend, before gaining control of my life. I pulled out the flash drive James had given me, loaded the video files onto my laptop, watched my brother and sister-in-law systematically destroy my peace, my trust, my family. There was one more thing I needed to do. I drafted an email to my sister, Patricia. She lived in Seattle, and we talked maybe twice a year, distant but cordial. I debated telling her, but she deserved to know what her brother had become. Patricia, by the time you read this, you'll probably hear a version of events from Devin. I want you to know the truth first. What follows is not speculation. It's documented evidence. I attached the video files, the financial records, the medical reports, everything. Hit send. Then I heard the garage door open. They were home. I closed my laptop, steadied my breathing, and prepared for what would be the last normal evening in this house. By tomorrow morning, everything would change. The war had been brewing in shadow. Tomorrow it would break into open combat, and I'd already won the first 3 battles without them knowing we were even fighting. Devin and Rachel walked past my study, laughing about something, completely oblivious that their entire plan had just collapsed around them. I allowed myself the smallest smile. Checkmate. They just didn't know it yet. Monday morning, I woke at 5:30. Didn't sleep much anyway. Just laid there in the dark, listening to the house settle, knowing everything was about to change. I dressed carefully. Navy suit, white blouse. The same outfit I used to wear when testifying in federal court. Armor disguised as business attire. Devin and Rachel were still asleep when I left. I didn't leave a note. Didn't say goodbye. Just closed the door quietly and drove toward downtown San Diego as the sun rose over the bay. Robert's office at 7 a.m. was already humming with preparation. James was there too, laptop open, ready to present his surveillance evidence. The restraining order hearing is at 9, Robert said, handing me coffee. Their competency petition filing was scheduled for 9:30, but they're about to get a very different kind of morning. Have they been served yet? I asked. Deputies are delivering the papers right now. Should arrive at your house around 7:15. I checked my watch. 7:10. Somewhere across the city, Devin and Rachel were about to discover that the woman they'd been manipulating for 18 months had been 3 steps ahead of them the entire time. What were they thinking in that moment? Were they confused, angry, terrified? I hoped it was all 3. The courthouse was exactly as I remembered. I'd been here dozens of times during my FBI career, testifying in fraud cases, financial crimes, conspiracy trials. But I'd always been the expert witness, the person with answers. Today, I was the victim, except I didn't feel like a victim anymore. Robert led me to courtroom 4B. Judge Catherine Patterson presiding. I knew her by reputation. Sharp, fair, zero tolerance for fraud. She'd been a prosecutor before becoming a judge. She knew how criminals thought. Devin and Rachel sat at the respondents' table with their attorney, a thin, nervous-looking man named Wilson Carter. He kept shuffling papers, looking confused, probably because he'd been hired to file an offensive petition and instead found himself defending against multiple accusations. Devin looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes were red, hair uncombed. Rachel sat perfectly still, mascara already smudged like she'd been crying. When they saw me walk in with Robert, Devin's face went through several expressions. Confusion, realization, then something cold and hard that I'd never seen before. Hatred. My little brother looked at me with pure hatred, and I felt absolutely nothing in response. Judge Patterson entered. We all stood. Be seated. In the matter of Margaret Chen versus Devin Wallace and Rachel Wallace, petition for emergency restraining order based on allegations of elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. She adjusted her glasses, reviewed the file. This is quite a substantial filing. Mr. Fuentes, present your case. Robert stood. Your Honor, petitioner seeks restraining order based on documented evidence that respondents have engaged in a systematic campaign to have her falsely declared mentally incompetent in order to gain control of a $2.3 million trust fund. He activated the courtroom screen. The surveillance footage began playing. Devin and Rachel entering attorney Patricia Morrison's office. 4 visits documented. Rachel staging disorder in my home office, deliberately scattering papers, then photographing the result. Devin moving my car keys from the counter to the bathroom cabinet. Then the audio recording from Tuesday night played through the courtroom speakers. Devin's voice. Once we get her declared incompetent, we petition for emergency guardianship. We could have control within 3 weeks. Rachel. What about Lily? Devin. Extract what we need for our debts. By the time Lily figures it out, the money's gone. The courtroom went silent. Judge Patterson's expression had turned to stone. Your Honor, Robert continued, we also present evidence of medication theft. He displayed the photographs of my pill count. Petitioner's anxiety medication was depleted at twice the prescribed rate. 23 pills unaccounted for in 2 weeks. Respondent Rachel Wallace had sole access to these medications as she helped Ms. Chen organize them weekly. That's not. Rachel started to stand, but her attorney pulled her back down, whispering urgently. Robert wasn't finished. Additionally, we present 3 independent medical evaluations conducted last week. He submitted the reports to the clerk. Neurologist Dr. Patricia Alvarez finds no cognitive impairment. Psychiatrist Dr. Marcus Liu confirms normal mental status. General practitioner Dr. Sarah Martinez reports excellent health. All 3 evaluations directly contradict the claims respondents plan to make. Judge Patterson examined each evaluation carefully, thoroughly. Then she looked at Devin and Rachel with an expression that made me grateful I wasn't on the receiving end. Mr. Carter, I'm going to hear from your clients. Mr. Wallace, stand up. Devin stood slowly, looking like a man walking to his execution. Mr. Wallace, I've just watched video evidence of you and your wife deliberately creating false evidence of mental decline. I've heard audio recording of you discussing misappropriating trust funds. Explain this to me, right now. Devin's mouth opened, closed, Opened again. Your Honor, that recording was taken out of context. We were just concerned about my sister's welfare. We thought... You thought what, Mr. Wallace? That stealing from your 17-year-old niece was concern. That poisoning your sister with her own medication was help. Judge Patterson's voice cut like a blade. I've been on this bench for 12 years. I've seen elder abuse cases that would make you sick. This is one of the most calculated, cold-blooded attempts I've witnessed. She turned to Rachel. Mrs. Wallace, do you have anything to add? Rachel was crying now, makeup running in black streaks. We just needed help. We have debts, problems. She had so much money just sitting there. Money that wasn't hers, I said quietly. Couldn't help myself. Judge Patterson looked at me. Miss Chen, you'll have your opportunity to speak. Mrs. Wallace, finish your statement. But Rachel just shook her head, sobbing. The judge made notes for what felt like an eternity. Then she spoke, her voice carrying the full weight of judicial authority. Emergency restraining order granted. Devin Wallace and Rachel Wallace are prohibited from contacting Margaret Chen directly or indirectly. They are prohibited from entering her property. They have 72 hours to remove their belongings from her residence. She paused. I'm also referring this matter to the District Attorney for criminal investigation. Elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, theft. All appropriate charges should be considered. She looked at Devin and Rachel one more time. You're very fortunate Ms. Chen filed first. If you had succeeded in having her declared incompetent based on fabricated evidence, you'd be looking at federal charges. As it stands, you're looking at California State Prison, 3 to 7 years if convicted. The gavel fell. Devin and Rachel sat frozen. Their attorney was already packing his briefcase, probably calculating how to withdraw from the case without violating ethics rules. As we left the courtroom, Devin caught my arm in the hallway. Not rough, just desperate. Margaret, please, we can talk about this. We're family. No, I said simply, pulling my arm free. Family doesn't try to steal from children. Family doesn't poison each other. You're my brother by blood, Devin, but you stopped being my family the moment you decided I was worth more to you institutionalized than free. His face crumpled. For a second, he looked like the little boy I'd grown up with, the kid who'd cried when our dog died, who'd called me when his first marriage fell apart, who'd asked me to be in his wedding when he married Rachel. Then the moment passed, and I saw him clearly, a desperate man who'd made terrible choices and was finally facing consequences. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. We just needed... I know what you needed. I know exactly how much you owe and to whom. I know about the loan shark, the crypto losses, Rachel's credit cards. I know everything, Devin. That's what I did for 30 years. I investigated fraud. I kept my voice level, professional. You picked the wrong target. Robert touched my elbow. Margaret, we should go. I walked away without looking back. But the story wasn't over, not even close. The question that kept me up that night was simple. What happens when you destroy your own family to save yourself? Is it justice or is it cruelty? And does the answer even matter? The next 72 hours were a blur of legal proceedings and emotional warfare. Tuesday morning, Robert filed additional civil claims, $54,000 in back rent for the 18 months Devin and Rachel lived in my house rent-free, $75,000 in emotional damages, another $20,000 for the cost of the private investigation and legal fees. Total claim, $149,000. They couldn't pay, not even close. Wednesday afternoon, 2 sheriff's deputies accompanied me back to the house while Devin and Rachel packed. I watched from the doorway as they loaded belongings into a moving truck. Rachel was still crying, moving like a ghost through rooms she'd occupied for a year and a half. She kept touching furniture, picking up framed photos, setting them down again. Devin refused to look at me, just carried boxes with mechanical precision, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Where will you go? I asked Rachel at one point. Couldn't help myself. Residual compassion from the woman I used to be. She turned to me, mascara streaked, eyes red and swollen. Does it matter? You've destroyed us. Devin lost his job. No one will hire him now. The criminal investigation is public record. We have nowhere to go and no money to get there. You did this to yourselves, I said quietly. I just refuse to be your victim. You're heartless. Her voice broke. We made mistakes, but we're still family. How can you be so cruel? I thought about that recording. Sunrise Memory Care. Costs $6,800 a month. She lives there until the money runs out or she doesn't. Either way, problem solved. I'm not being cruel, I said. I'm being fair. You planned to warehouse me and steal from Lily. You're experiencing consequences of your own choices. That's not cruelty. That's accountability. She screamed something incoherent and fled upstairs. One of the deputies stepped closer. Ma'am, do you want us to intervene? No, let her pack. By evening, they were gone. The house was mine again. Empty, quiet, safe. But it didn't feel like victory. It just felt like loss. The criminal investigation moved slower than the civil case. District Attorney's Office had limited resources, and elder abuse cases without physical harm often got deprioritized, but Robert kept pressure on them. Media attention helped too. Local news picked up the story. Retired FBI forensic accountant thwarts brother's elder abuse scheme. It played well, the underdog fighting back with her own expertise. Dr. Richardson lost his medical license within 6 weeks. Medical board investigation found multiple ethics violations beyond my case. He'd been rubber-stamping diagnoses for attorney Patricia Morrison for 2 years, providing convenient expert testimony in exchange for referrals and cash payments. Patricia Morrison faced her own investigation. State Bar doesn't take kindly to attorneys coordinating fraud with corrupt medical experts. Devin and Rachel declared bankruptcy in November. The civil judgment was extracted first, $45,000 before protection kicked in. The rest became uncollectible debt they'd carry forever. But I didn't care about the money anymore. Never really had. I cared that Lily's trust fund was safe. That's what Michael had wanted. That's what I'd protected. Lily moved in with me full-time in December. Her mother agreed it made sense. Lily was almost 18, would be starting college soon. Better to have stability during the transition. We renovated Devin and Rachel's old bedroom, painted it in colors Lily chose, bought new furniture, erased every trace of them. One evening in late December, Lily and I sat in the living room with hot chocolate. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree we decorated together. Normal, peaceful. Do you ever feel bad? She asked suddenly. About what happened to them? I considered the question carefully. She deserved honesty. I feel bad that it was necessary, I said finally. I wish Devin had never made those choices. I wish Rachel had stopped him. I wish I still had a brother I could trust. I paused. But do I regret protecting you and myself? No, not for a second. Rachel keeps writing me. Lily stared into her mug. Emails mostly. Letters sometimes. She says you destroyed them. That they just needed help and you were cruel. What do you tell her? Nothing. I don't respond. But sometimes I wonder if she actually believes that, if she really thinks she's the victim here. People have an amazing capacity for self-deception, I said. Rachel probably has convinced herself that needing money justified stealing it, that manipulating me was somehow helping me. The human mind will do incredible gymnastics to avoid accepting responsibility. Do you read her letters? I shook my head. She's written me 7 times. I've opened none of them. Whatever she has to say, apology or justification or plea, it doesn't change what she did. Some bridges stay burned, Lily. That's okay. She nodded slowly. I'm glad you fought back. I'm glad you knew what to do. I'm glad you hired James. You saved us both. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the Christmas lights twinkle. Family rebuilt on truth instead of manipulation. Patricia, my sister in Seattle, called in January. We talked briefly after I sent her the evidence, but she'd needed time to process. Margaret, I've been thinking about what Devin did. Her voice was tight, controlled. I always knew he had problems, but I never thought he'd do something like this. Not to family. Me neither, I admitted. but desperation makes people do terrible things. He called me last week, asked for money, said you'd destroyed his life and he had nowhere to turn. What did you tell him? I told him I'd seen the evidence, that what he did was unforgivable, that he destroyed his own life and blamed you for refusing to be his victim. She paused. He hung up on me. I don't think we'll talk again. I'm sorry you lost a brother too, I said quietly. We didn't lose him, Margaret. He lost us when he chose greed over family. That's on him, not us. After we hung up, I sat in my study, looking at the locked drawer where Devon and Rachel's unopened letters lived. 7 from Rachel, 3 from Devon. 10 chances at reconciliation I'd declined without reading a single word. Did that make me cold? Unforgiving? Harsh? Maybe. But it also made me safe, protected, free. And freedom, I'd learned, sometimes requires boundaries that look like walls. Spring came. Lily got accepted to UC San Diego. Full scholarship plus her trust fund meant she'd graduate debt-free with money to spare. Everything Michael had wanted for her. I started consulting part-time, helping other elder abuse victims navigate the legal and financial complexities of protection. Turned out there was significant demand for a forensic accountant who understood both the criminal mind and the legal system. My first client was a 72-year-old woman whose nephew had forged her signature on a reverse mortgage. We got it invalidated, got him arrested, got her house back. She cried in my office. I thought I had to just accept it. That family meant accepting whatever they did. Family means loyalty and love, I told her. If someone's giving you neither, they're not functioning as family. They're functioning as predators. You don't owe predators anything except boundaries. She thanked me 17 times. Helping her felt better than anything I'd done in retirement. Purpose rediscovered. In April, I received a phone call from an unknown number. Almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Devon's voice. Rough, tired, sober for once. Margaret, I know you don't want to talk to me. I know I don't deserve any consideration, but I need you to know something. I waited. I'm sorry. I'm truly, genuinely sorry. Not because I got caught. Not because I'm facing consequences. I'm sorry because I betrayed you. Because I turned you into a mark instead of a sister. Because I let desperation turn me into someone I don't recognize. Silence stretched between us. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he continued. I'm not asking you to respond or help or anything. I just needed to say it. You deserved to hear it. I'm sorry. He hung up before I could respond. I sat holding the phone for a long time. Did his apology change anything? Did it matter that he finally acknowledged what he'd done? I didn't know. Still don't. But I didn't delete his number. Filed it away somewhere in my contacts. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just acknowledgement that he'd said the words. Maybe that was enough. Maybe it wasn't. Time would tell. In May, Lily and I returned to the San Diego Botanic Garden. Full circle to where it all began. We stood before the orchid exhibit. The same rare Paphiopedilum that had been blooming that February afternoon when James handed me the note that changed everything. Your dad loved this place, I said quietly, touching the glass. We came here every month. He'd spend an hour just staring at the orchids. I remember, Lily said. He tried to grow one at home once, killed it in 3 weeks. We both laughed, gentle, healing. He left you that money so you'd have choices, I said. So you'd never be trapped. We protected it, Lily. Together. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for seeing what I couldn't, for hiring James, for being brave enough to act. We stood there in the orchid conservatory, surrounded by blooming flowers and filtered sunlight, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not perfect, not complete, but real. I'd lost a brother but saved a daughter, lost comfort but gained clarity, lost illusions but gained truth, necessary trades, every one of them. The story could have ended differently. Devon and Rachel could have won, could have had me declared incompetent, stolen Lily's future, destroyed everything Michael built. But they underestimated one thing. I'd spent 30 years hunting people exactly like them. And when you spend that long studying predators, you learn how to become something they can't touch, not a victim, a fortress. As Lily and I walked through the gardens toward the exit, my phone buzzed. Another letter notification. Rachel again, probably. The 14th or 15th. I'd lost count. I deleted it without reading. Some bridges stay burned, and that's exactly how they should be. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.